everyone. Today I'm going to take you on a little tour of my seedling room where I grow out my vegetables, my annual flowers, some of my natives, and show you my setup and how I'm operating down here. Okay guys, so this is where this is my grow room. This is where I do all of my indoor growing that will eventually end up outside. This area down here is the only area of my house that is unfinished, and luckily for me, it came with these built-in shelves. So the built-in shelves have been fantastic for growing my seeds indoors. The lights that I have in my grow room here, almost all of them are just the basic shop light that you can get at Lowe's. That's where I got mine. And then my bulbs right here are just T12, very inexpensive bulbs. The only real grow lights I have are these two grow lights. And it was just when I started getting going with growing, I thought, well, I'm gonna have to have grow lights. So when I bought those and then realized how expensive those were, I just decided that T12 shop lights would be just fine. Also in this room, I have just a cheap oscillating fan and then also a little heater. So if this room is particularly cold, I can turn that heater on, especially because it's in the basement. I haven't been using it recently, but I did at the beginning of the season. And the oscillating fan, you want pushing wind to your seedlings because it makes a stronger stem and support system for your little plants. If I were to do anything different down here, I would change the way I have my T12 lights set up. I would continue to use those because they were the cheapest option for me. Instead of only hanging one light above each shelf, I would hang two, and that would give me 4 bulbs. The reason is because I do notice that my seedlings start leaning in towards the light. So I think if I would have hung 2 per shelf, then those seedlings would be a lot better off. Another thing that I would like to do down here is, if you notice, I have some tin foil behind my trays of plants, and that should reflect light back onto my plants, and I have noticed it does make a difference. So if I get any extra time, one thing that I want to add down here is to go get all the cardboard boxes that I have in my garage, cover them with tin foil, and put them behind all of the lights I have. If this is content that you find interesting or appeals to you, I would love it if you would take a moment to subscribe, like, click the bell button, all the things to help support my channel. As far as supplies that I keep down here to keep my life easy, I have a couple things. So first up, I have a little pair of scissors. These are really good to trim your onions, to trim extra seedlings that you want to thin back, or if it's time to cut back one of your annuals to enable branching. I keep a tablespooner down here so that I can mix up my fertilizer. I keep some of my rice hulls or coarse vermiculite down here. A lot of times after you have watered something a lot, the rice hulls and the coarse vermiculite seem to kind of blend in with the soil. So if I have a little extra down here already to fill in the gaps, this saves me some time. I keep my fertilizer down here for my seedlings. I have a bathroom on the other side of that wall so that I can easily water everything down here. This is a new foliar seedling spray that I just got off of Amazon. I just wanted to try a fertilizer in case I really needed to use, or felt like I needed to use, the water and hydrogen peroxide mix, but I still wanted to fertilize the leaves. I thought I could do it with a spray like this. It's come in handy, but I can't speak to how good it is just yet. But it is called Organic Biosciences Misc Organic Foliar Spray. I like to keep a watering can down here. I like the little teeny spouts for using in my seedling room. I like to really be able to control the water, especially if I'm watering over the top of something. So a little watering can with a small spout. And then I have a 4-cup measuring cup. So this is really good for me to mix up my fertilizer or to mix up my hydrogen peroxide and water mix that I use to water the plants or spray the plants. And then the last thing is a spray bottle that I can use to spray my hydrogen peroxide and water mix. And that covers the supplies that I keep down here to make my life easier. Okay, so I'm going to show you the plants that I have here. I'll show you the plants that have been moved out of here and are upstairs now, but I do want to tell you before I show you the plants a couple things. So first, some of the plants are covered with rice hulls or coarse vermiculite. Those are covering plants that need the darkness to germinate or need to be buried in order to germinate. So I put that layer of coarse vermiculite or rice hulls on top because it keeps moisture in and is a way to manage fungus gnats because they're not supposed to like to crawl through that material. The plants and the pots and the containers that you see that are not covered, those have seeds in them that require light to germinate. So it's really important, especially if you are a new gardener, to understand that you should always read the instructions. Actually, I read the instructions every single year because I've forgotten sometimes and messed some sowings up. So some seeds need to be buried and need darkness to germinate. Others absolutely need the light to germinate. So where I don't have the coarse vermiculite or rice hulls covering the dirt on the pots, the soil on the pots, those are the seeds that need the light to germinate. The second thing that I wanted to mention, especially for new gardeners, is I only have heat mats right here. And the only plants that I am using the heat mats for are those that need heat or need the supplemental heat in order to germinate. So those would be your peppers, ground cherries, and tomatoes. I'm sure there are others that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but that's where those get germinated. Once they sprout, then I move them to another area in here that doesn't have a heat mat. Most of the plants that I grow don't need a heat mat. Some of the vegetables, the cool weather vegetables and annuals, they actually want a cooler temperature to germinate. So I would absolutely not put those on a heat mat because they may never germinate if you do that. Now for some tips about managing fungus gnats. Fungus gnats are so horrible. I don't like fungus gnats, and some years in the past I've gotten them pretty bad. I believe that's because I use a potting mix and not a sterile seed starting mix, but I have found ways to manage them even and continue to use the potting mixes or my own homemade potting mix. So first off, I bottom water all of my plants as much as I can. The reason why I do that is if you bottom water, the water seeps up from the bottom coming up to the top. Your seedlings are going to want to grow their roots down towards that water where the majority of the water is, and so you're going to have stronger plants. But also the fungus gnats exist in the upper layers of the soil, so you're not giving them that moist environment, or you're limiting that moist environment that they thrive in. Okay, so number 2, I water with a water and hydrogen peroxide mix. I mix 4 parts of water with 1 part hydrogen peroxide. And that's really why I have this specific measuring cup down here, because I usually will put a half a cup of hydrogen peroxide in here, fill it to 2.5 cups, and then I have my water needed to bottom water my plants. Now, the other thing that I forgot to mention that I keep down here are yellow sticky traps. When fungus gnats emerge from the soil, they're attracted to this yellow. If you have a couple of these around, they'll be attracted to it and they'll stick on it, and then they'll die, and that will be the end of that fungus gnat. If worst comes to worst, what I will do is I will water from the top with the hydrogen peroxide mix. So I'll get that all mixed up, put it in this particular watering jug because I have my small little thing and I can control it. And I typically only like to do this after a seed has sprouted because I do find bottom water. Who is here? Come in here.
Are we doing the video?
Yeah. Okay. Say hi.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. So now I forget where I was. Like I said, I try to limit the amount of top watering I do, but if I get a pretty bad infestation of fungus gnats, I like to put that hydrogen peroxide and water mix in here and then water from the top real good, and that really should knock out the fungus gnats. They might come back a little bit, and you do that a couple times and they'll be gone. Okay, now I'll try to go through real quick what I have growing down here that hasn't been moved upstairs to harden off. And I have all sorts of peppers here that I pre-sprouted. I did a video about that. But I have Sugar Rush Peach, Nata Pina, Golden California, Etude, oh, I forget the name of that one, Etude Orange Bell, Big Red, Golden California Wonder, and Lesia. This is a little pot of cilantro with really, really old seeds, and as you can see, I only got 3 to sprout. Down here, these are plants that I sowed this week. So I have pink dandelion, calendula, oopsie daisy, nicotiana, and these are for my botanical garden. And then I have endive and calendula resina and calendula Pacific Beauty. Both of the calendulas are for that botanical garden, and then obviously the endive is for eating. Over here are some more of my peppers. These ones I didn't pre-sprout. I directly sowed them into 6-packs and potted them up. But I have Sugar Rush Peach. There's an ahi. I will put the name, the second part of the name up on the screen. Lesia, and what's this one? Oh, that's another ahi. Up here, I have Scarlet Sage, Black Simpson Lettuce, Yarrow Colorado Blend, Lemon Balm, and Poppy Supreme. Over here, I have peppers on my heat mat. So I have Jimmy Nardello's in the 6-pack. I have Long Thin Cayenne, Shishito, Red Marconi, Golden California Wonder, and then some amaranth back there. And then under there, I have some more amaranth and some Hungarian peppers. And here is my dud pile of peppers. They were peppers that I had pre-sprouted or sown directly, and for whatever reason, they didn't come up. Like I said earlier, I wanted to show you what I've already grown down in the seed room, and now I'm hardening off here outside. So here, what I have to do this are 2 storage totes. They're transparent, and I just put my plants that I am hardening off onto the lid. So what I'm doing here is I am just using the lid, so the bin is upside down, and I cover it with the lid. For the first couple of days, I was completely shutting this and covering it, so it was all sealed up. Today is the first day where I'm letting some air in, and tomorrow I'll probably just let them sit out in the open. And then what I've been doing is just bringing them in at night, just pulling them in the house and then putting them right back out in the morning. So over here is my other bin, but first let me just go and tell you I have Ragged Jack kale. Those seedlings seem to struggle, so I'm not sure. I think I did something wrong there. Then I have a chicory for the botanical garden. I might actually start calling it a tea garden because I think that's more what it's going to be. And then I have, what are these ones? Then I have red Russian kale here, and then I have dino kale here. Now if I open this one, I have lettuces. I believe I have Madeline and, what's the other one? Madeline and Red Rock. Now, don't follow my example with these onions because I have such a hard time with onions in Virginia, and I don't even know if these are long day or short day. It was almost more of an experiment, and also the smell to be a deterrent to pests because I'm going to interplant them. And then here I have the corn salad or matcha. And then these little guys have little blooms on them, but this is Claytonia. And then in front of that, I have some bunching onions. I have white Lisbon and crystal white wax. So this is just my setup from where I have taken my seedlings from downstairs in my seedling room and brought them up to here to harden off. That's the little setup that I use to harden off my seedling. And if you're wondering, I am doing these cold hardy type vegetables a little earlier just because spring in Virginia lasts for like half of a second, literally half of a second, and then they will bolt. As soon as we get that Virginia heat, they will bolt. And a lot of times we will get, like, we'll have a little bit of spring and it's nice, and then we'll get crazy hot weather and then it'll go back to spring. So our springs are super erratic. So I am testing doing my cold hardy vegetables a lot earlier this year. Now, if you've missed my last couple videos, I will put them up here. Thank you so much for taking your time to join me here today. Happy gardening, and I will catch you again next time.